case continues. Hundreds who felt their lives were touched by Baby Fay's brief life gathered today at a chapel there for a memorial service, a way of saying goodbye to the infant who lost life's final battle 3 weeks after a cross-species heart transplant.
Time now for News for L.A., the early Saturday edition with Frank Cruz and Carla Aragon, Fritz Coleman with the weather weekend, and Andy Toscano with all the sports. Now here's News for L.A. Weekend.
A touching memorial service for Baby Fay today, attended by an overflow crowd at Loma Linda Medical Center. More than 2,500 people jammed the Seventh-day Adventist Chapel at Loma Linda to hear the infant eulogized for her bravery. The tiny, dark-haired girl lived for 21 days with the heart of a baboon beating in her chest. She was the longest living human to receive a cross-species organ transplant. The operation, performed at Loma Linda Medical Center by a surgical team headed by Dr. Leonard Bailey, continues to stir controversy. But for today, at least, the arguments were put aside as both Pastor Louis Venden and Medical Center chaplain Jerry Davis spoke to the gathered crowd. The service was also carried on community television in the Loma Linda area. The infant's parents, who live in Barstow, were not seen at the service. Frank?
Carla, there was a dramatic rescue early today in the hills above Glendora. 2 Irwindale police officers and a civilian got lost while investigating a murder. L.A. County Sheriff deputies set up for a command post on the East Fork Road west on San Gabriel Dam, west of the dam, and they could talk to the missing officers who were carrying a 2-way radio to listen and talk to each other.
Yeah, at this time we're in line with your light and the North Star, just below the Big Dipper.
Lights were set up to guide the lost men. The temperature was down to 20 degrees, and one of the officers was suffering from hypothermia. Toward dawn, the rescue team found them at the first crack of light. Helicopters were able to bring the 3 men and the rescuers back to civilization. Detective Kenneth Aguayo was in better condition than his partner.
He passed out on us twice from the cold. We went out for about 15 minutes, and we rubbed him in about 15 minutes trying to warm him up until he finally came to, and it happened the second time.
Aguayo's partner, 27-year-old Mike Luku, was reported in stable condition at an Arcadia hospital. The civilian trail guide, 25-year-old Norman Tightsey, was treated and released. They did not discover the dead body they had gone to find initially. No details yet on that particular phase of the story. The detective said he will go back again, but the next time, he says, he will be dressed for bad weather. 3 passengers, including a Southern California man, remain hospitalized in Hawaii tonight after being injured in yesterday's aborted takeoff of a United Airlines jet. In all, 35 passengers were hurt. Flight 194 was bound for Los Angeles from Honolulu International Airport. The jumbo jet blew 2 tires as it rolled down the runway for takeoff. A fuel tank also ruptured. The pilot ordered 415 passengers aboard to evacuate the plane down emergency chutes, but one of the inflated chutes collapsed, and a number of passengers fell 20 feet to the ground. 65-year-old Percy Levi of Marina del Rey was among those injured and rushed to nearby hospitals. Singer Kenny Loggins was one of the passengers who escaped injury during that accident. After the aborted takeoff, many of the passengers boarded other flights headed for the Los Angeles area. Carla.
President Reagan is at his ranch near Santa Barbara beginning an 8-day Thanksgiving vacation. The president arrived from Washington at Point Mugu Naval Air Station for a chopper ride to the ranch. For the next week, the Reagans will remain out of public view. They will observe Thanksgiving with a traditional turkey dinner Thursday. All the Reagan children will be there, except his son, Michael. The launch of a complex weather and rescue satellite was delayed for the 5th time in 2 weeks today from Vandenberg Air Force Base. Officials blame today's postponement on a power failure at a ground station. Air Force officials hope to have a successful blast-off tomorrow. Frank?
Coast Guard vessels and tugboats were on hand this afternoon for the start of a risky journey for the remains of the tanker SS Puerto Rico off San Francisco Harbor. The Coast Guard approved a plan by the ship's owners to bring the stricken hull into San Francisco Bay in order to salvage its $3.5 million cargo of petrochemicals. The battered hull is scheduled to be towed under the Golden Gate Bridge about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. The tanker split apart 3 days after several explosions severely damaged it on October the 31st. Oil leaking from its sunken stern has killed about 400 birds in that area. The guided missile frigate that the Navy refused to accept 3 weeks ago was commissioned today at ceremonies in Long Beach. Navy men, their families, and workers from Todd Shipyard, builders of the USS Gary, attended the ceremonies. The Navy has accepted the ship was accepted by the Navy after Todd made extensive tests the Navy had demanded on microchips used in the Gary's electronic systems.
We put together a team and physically inspected all of the componentry on the ship that contained microchips and verified that the chips installed in the ship were satisfactory.
Despite the chip snag, the Gary was delivered 6 months ahead of schedule, and it's the 14th in a 17-ship contract that has saved Todd from financial disasters. Todd Shipyard is hoping that it wins an upcoming Navy contract for destroyers in order to overcome the slumping commercial side of its business. Carla.
Coming up, Muhammad Ali opens his home to benefit children who are the victims of war.
First time in more than 35 years, the California Highway Patrol has set up a roadblock to catch drunk drivers. State police chose Burlingame to implement the plan announced last week by Attorney General John Vandekamp. The aim of the program is to catch drunk drivers before they are involved in a fatal accident. The American Civil Liberties Union has said it will battle the legality of the checks in the courts. No arrests were reported at the Burlingame roadblock last night. Meantime, police in Riverside say they are considering roadblocks to check for drunk drivers during the coming holiday season. Health officials have stopped the sale of one batch of raw milk produced by a dairy in Oxnard. The problem is the possibility of salmonella contamination. The dairy in question is Chase Brothers. The suspect raw milk has the code number 25NOV. Most of the milk was distributed in the Oxnard area, and consumers, they say, who have already bought it are being advised not to drink that particular batch of milk. Carla.
A Union picket line went up today in Canoga Park where engines for the MX missile are made. But it was not a strike. Local 2060 of the National Federation of Federal Workers has a beef with the Air Force. It is not allowed to strike against the government. The local wanted the public to know it has been trying for 7 months to get the Air Force to sit down and negotiate. The employment picture was looking up today at Mattel Toys in Hawthorne. The company held a career open house looking for creative people who can design new toys for them. Other jobs are also open. Ironically, the company laid off thousands about 18 months ago because of a slump in its computer division. Spokesman said it has had significant growth since then. Mattel said job seekers who missed today's open house may send in resumes. Frank?
And speaking of employment, Carla, in Pennsylvania, 2 members of the Beaver County Police Force are being laid off to save $1,000. Now, their names are Kit and Hummel, 2 dogs who helped police maintain order at a teenage nightclub, but the nightclub closed down and the canines are not being used much. Beaver County's police chief is unhappy. He said getting rid of the dogs is like taking police guns away because they haven't shot anyone. Carla.
Several teenagers from war-torn countries came to Los Angeles today to talk about peace. The youngsters are part of the Children of War tour. They're crisscrossing the United States and sharing their experiences with other children and adults. The young peacemakers attended a celebrity fundraiser today.
I am here on this tour just to tell American people that everything they have shouldn't be taken for granted, that people are living around the world suffering, being beaten, being killed, starving, and other things.
But the Children of War say many American youths are experiencing a growing fear of nuclear war. The project's fundraiser today was held at the home of Muhammad Ali. The tour's organizers say they have enormous debts. Coming up next, they call it one of the great crosstown rivalries, and today was no exception.
That's right. Andy Lascano is going to explain why Troy was not smelling roses this afternoon, right after this. Bruin fans, before I turn it over to Andy to tell you about the outcome of today's game, I promised my producer, she is a staunch dyed-in-the-wool Bruin fan, that I would do this. So
there you go.
That takes a lot
here we go.
this
This takes a lot.
Point.
Yes.
All right, there you go.
This is something.
This is
We got this on videotape for proof. You know, one thing, I'm glad you took off your black armband. Guy comes walking into the station all dressed in black with a black armband in observance of this brutal day that the Trojans had at the Rose Bowl, huh? Correct?
All right, that's it.
That was rough out there. Hey, there's nothing you can do about it till next year, Trojan fans. Bruins 29, Trojans 10. UCLA closes its regular season at 8-3, but the Bruins are a leading candidate for the New Year's Day Fiesta Bowl. What they did today was break USC's 6-game winning streak, handed the Trojans their first road loss in '84, and it's the first time since '53, '54, '55 that UCLA has beaten the Trojans 3 times in a row.
When you play a good football team, which UCLA is, and you turn the ball over like we did today, you get taken out of the strength of what our game is. And our game is not catch-up football. Our game is to be able to not take a lot of chances.
All right, 90,000 plus in the Rose Bowl, including Frank Cruz for the 54th annual Battle for Los Angeles. Bruins scored first on a John Lee field goal. Lee's kicked 29 of these this year. That's a new NCAA record. I'll tell you, the Bruin defense played with emotion all day. They came up with a key stop here early in the game on 4th and 1. Trojans went for it. Fred Crutcher got to meet Tony Phillips up close and personal. That ended the USC drive. Now, after Neil Delacono recovered a Ryan Knight fumble, Lee kicked another field goal, 6-0 UCLA. But the Bruins wanted more. They wanted SC quarterback Timmy Green, and Craig Rutledge got him right there. Trojans had to settle for a field goal. They were down by 3. Another Lee field goal, another Trojan turnover, another Lee field goal. Bruins led by 9. Then 30 seconds before halftime, the Bruins piled it on. Bono, 5 yards. Mike Sherrard in the end zone. UCLA 19, USC 3 at halftime. 5:50 to go in the third quarter. Timmy Green intercepted by number 6, Dennis Price. Price goes 63 yards untouched into the end zone. UCLA with a shocking 26-3 lead. Trojans scored later in the third quarter, 2-yard run by Green, but this was clearly a UCLA romp. Fred Rogan, after the game, talked with the new record setter, John Lee.
Is the record as important as beating USC?
Oh, no, that's individual achievement. Doesn't have anything to do with the team achievement. Like, our guys worked out. Our guys, they put everything on the line, and they came out with victory, and I'm proud of everybody in this team.
I know everybody in here is happy to go to the Rose Bowl, but does it tarnish it a bit losing to UCLA?
Yes, it does tarnish it a lot. I mean, I hate losing to UCLA. You know, that's a team I like to beat. I'd like to beat them 5 times a year. So, you know, this really is to me, a painful loss because, we've been playing well all season. We've been playing aggressive. When we come out here, we come out lax, and we just didn't do it.
Dwayne Bickett of the Trojans. So USC right now 8-2 with 1 regular season game left. That's next week against Notre Dame in the Coliseum. That is their last game before their New Year's Day showdown with Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. Today, Ohio State beating Michigan to earn that right. 21-6 was the final score. Keith Byers scored 3 touchdowns. They didn't even rush for over 100 yards. Let's go to Ohio Stadium in Columbus, Ohio, see how the Buckeyes finalize their holiday vacation plans in front of 90,000 plus, biggest crowd ever at Ohio Stadium. This is what they saw. First quarter, Byers, the junior, and a real Heisman Trophy candidate either this year or next, gave him a 7-0 lead. Michigan driving, and Ohio State slammed the door shut. Sonny Gordon, interception in the end zone. Still in the first half, Wolverines driving again, but Zerbrug is sacked by number 12, Terry White. And Bo Schembechler is hot. Woo, he is upset. He realizes that the Wolverines are going to lose their 5th game this year. That's the most they've ever lost in one season since he's been coached. Fourth quarter, Ohio State driving. Tomczak to Mike Lanise. Great grab there for 17 yards. That led to a Byers touchdown. This 2-yard run, his 21st of the season. Michigan finishes the Big Ten at 5-4, and we'll see the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Rose Bowl on January 1st. All right, USC's next game, as we told you, next Saturday in the Coliseum against Notre Dame. Look out for the Irish. They beat Penn State today 44-7. Alan Pinkett with 4 touchdowns, 198 yards. Let's go to South Bend, Indiana to get an idea what the Trojans can expect next week from the Irish. The Irish today broke a 3-game losing streak to Penn State and a 3-game home losing streak. Here in the second quarter, game tied at 7. This is Pinkett. He breaks up the middle, 18 yards. Carried the ball 34 times today. Then this exciting 66-yard touchdown run. Still in the second quarter. Pinkett went over 1,000 yards today for the second time in his career at Notre Dame. The Irish have won 3 in a row, thinking bowl bid if they can beat USC next Saturday in the Coliseum. Jerry Fauci's going to make sure that happens. All right, Lincoln, Nebraska today. Number 1 ranked Nebraska upset by number 6 ranked Oklahoma in Lincoln, Nebraska. The score was 17-7. The Huskers become the 5th team to get upset so far this season. Let's go to Memorial Stadium, Lincoln, Nebraska for the annual battle for the Big 8 title and the Orange Bowl berth. Barry Switzer still might have a few more surprises left before this wild season is over. Maybe that tie with Texas will cost him the national championship. Danny Bradley, 1-yard plunge. Oklahoma led 7-0. Nebraska tied it later. Jeff Smith touchdown run. He's the latest in the long line of Nebraska's great running backs. Fourth quarter, after the 4th Husker turnover of the game, Bradley bolts in for the winning touchdown. Oklahoma beats Nebraska 17-7. Now, there were reports that South Carolina has already agreed to go to the Rose Bowl or to the Orange Bowl, but the Gamecocks lost today. Their undefeated season is over. They were beaten by Navy 38-21. We'll have more football for you tonight, including some highlights from the Kings game. They're trying to extend their winning streak to 4, and the Clippers are trying to break their losing streak at 5.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Andy. Coming up next, Fritz Coleman, checks his charts to see whether there's rain in our immediate future. That's coming up next. Apparently, not much happens in the way of crime in the town of Fort Fairfield in northern Maine, so police arrested a chicken. The arrest was made when the chicken refused to come out of a parked car peacefully. The jailbird was read its rights, and a court date was actually set. But it seems those rights are not very sacred in Fort Fairfield. Before a trial could be held, the defendant was in the soup. So, Fritz, don't get in trouble in Fort Fairfield. You'll be in the soup, too.
The SWAT team out there, it was a tough job for those guys.
Yeah. Tell us about the weather.
Well, Carla, we're going to be off and on again for the next couple of days between sunshine and rain. We have a real serious storm system off the northern California coast. Right now, it's already begun to kick up gale-like conditions for the coast of Washington and Oregon and the northern extremes of California. So sun today, cloudiness tomorrow with a slight chance of rain, sun Monday, and again the possibility of rain Tuesday. It'll be off and on for probably the best part of the week. Outside tonight, Burbank was our shot. I think they caught a sunset tonight from the top of the building or somewhere close. And here are your numbers for you. At 5:30 at the Civic Center, it looks like we had about a 69-degree high today with our low overnight of 50 degrees. And our temperature right now, 65, barometer at 30.03, indicative of some high pressure over our area, but only for the next couple of hours. Humidity, 54%. Well, it got fairly cool, fairly early, fairly south in the United States. Let's get a look now at some very strange things going on. A lot of slush in the middle of the country right there, and I like the printed jacket effect there. Anyway, Kansas and Missouri and Iowa today got rain, sleet, snow, and all kinds of combinations of all of those. Some rain to the south of that system in Texas. There were some snow flurries happening in the Adirondacks of New York all the way up through New England. But in Tennessee this morning, they had overnight low temperatures of 19 degrees. A little bit early for that. Here's the storm system we're talking about now. This thing is going to move on land in the northern part of California, Washington, and Oregon. We're going to catch the tail end of a frontal system tonight and tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning when you get up, it'll seem fairly close to rainy conditions, but it seems that this system is going to be so weak as it moves through that what we should probably get is only some cloudy conditions. As a matter of fact, it's going to blow through so quickly tomorrow afternoon, we may clear up to at least partly cloudy skies by tomorrow afternoon. Then we'll have a fair day Monday, and once again, as another frontal system spins off this storm, we're going to have a chance of rain again Tuesday. It'll look a lot easier to understand when we put it in letters for you. Let's get a look at tomorrow's temperatures. 3 or 4 degrees cooler than today because of the cloud cover. High in the low to mid-60s in the valleys. At the coast, just about the same. And it'll be probably a little bit cooler than normal up in the mountains, too, as usually happens with a storm approaching. Highs of 54, 74, and 60. Here then is the forecast for tonight and through at least the middle of the week. We'll have clear skies tonight, but then we'll begin to cloud up with the approach of this frontal line. Low 51 tomorrow, cloudy, and then, because of the quick moving nature of this system, probably partly cloudy by tomorrow afternoon. High of 64 Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, partly cloudy Monday. Then, as I told you, the return of the possibility of rain Tuesday and Wednesday clearing up with highs no higher than the mid-60s for the rest of the time. A fairly big storm in our normal winter storm terms, and we'll take a look at its progress tonight at 11 o'clock. Have a good night.
Okay, Fritz, thank you very much. We got more news coming ahead, including a live report from Loma Linda and the memorial service for Baby Fay, right after this. The Primate program has brought 2 distinguished visitors to the San Diego Zoo. They are Min Min and Rong Rong, the first Chinese golden monkeys ever to be seen in the United States. The Peking government estimates that only 10 to 13,000 golden monkeys are left in the wild, making them even more rare than the giant panda. Min Min and Rong Rong will make their official debut at the San Diego Zoo next Wednesday. And they're going to be featured in the zoo's Southeast Asia exhibit through mid-March. Carla.
As we mentioned earlier in the newscast, a touching memorial service for Baby Fay, today attended by an overflow crowd at Loma Linda Medical Center. News 4LA's Patrick Healy is in Loma Linda for a live report. Patrick?
We're on a hill overlooking the Loma Linda University Medical Center and campus where just about 45 minutes ago the services ended for Baby Fay. It was a time, well, perhaps for the first time in 3 weeks, to put aside the discussions of medical technicalities and medical controversies, a time to simply marvel at the amazing life of the young girl, a life that, though only 5 weeks in length, was enough time for the entire world to feel her heartbeats. Baby Fay was eulogized, well, for her contributions to the field of medicine. The university president for medical affairs, Harrison Evans, said that Baby Fay, as a patient, was a teacher of doctors, that they will learn from her. She was also eulogized, well, in the words of the chaplain of the University Medical Center, the miracle was not in the heart of Baby Fay, but in the hearts of those who loved her. Reporting live, Patrick Healy, News 4, Loma Linda.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you. And that's our news this hour. We're going to be back at 11 o'clock with more news, so please join us then.
NBC Nightly News is next, and after that, headlines on trial. Tonight's case, battered wives who kill their husbands. Have a nice evening.
Good night.
To take her home. But now the bitter green is gone, the hills have turned to rust. There comes the weary stranger, his tears fall in the dust. Kneeling by the churchyard in the autumn mist, dreaming of a kiss. Bitter green, they call her, walking in the sun, loving everyone that she met. Bitter green, they call her, waiting in the sun, waiting for someone to take her hand. Bitter green, they call her, walking in the sun, loving everyone that she met. Bitter green, they call her, waiting in the sun, waiting for someone.
Classic Gordon Lightfoot on KNJO. That's Bitter Green. 6 o'clock, KNJO 1000 Oaks, Simi Valley in the news this hour is being brought to you by Oriental Imports.